This is my FMOD project for Viking Village. Under the master bank we have all the audio that has been implemented in the game. Under events we have 4 folders, each are colour coded to ambiences are blue, objects are magenta, and music is red, which is also seen in my Unity project in the trigger boxes. Music, ambiences with blue squares, and magentas the objects. I did it this way because it's really easy to understand and everything's nice and organised. So the ambiences 3D events. You can see this because of the 3D preview over here. This is because we need ambiences to be spatialized in the level. So if this was our listener in the game, you can see how the sound moves from left to right, depending on the location of where the player is. All the ambiences have been looped, this blue bar at the top. This is because we want them to be constantly playing throughout the entire level. And some of them have been EQ'd, so I did not edit any of these sounds previously before putting them inside the middleware, because I wanted to show the capabilities of FMOD and that you can edit sounds inside the middleware. So, for example, the battle, or let's take actually the tavern. So if you play it, it's really muffled and it sounds more like it's coming from indoors. So if we turn the it almost sounds like you're in the tavern rather than outside of it. So I prefer to keep it that way. So now if we go into objects, objects are also 3D events because they have to be spatialized as well. And one different thing is the start offset function. So because there are multiple of the same game objects in Unity with the same sound source, we have this function called start offset, which can be found under trigger behavior, under the seek function is the start offset, and if you add modulation random, you get this tab that appears. You can also manipulate the start offset function if you hold the Alt key on your keyboard and move the mouse up and down. See how it changes in the automation and modulation as well. This is really useful, so every time the player walks past the same torch, the different torch, it will play the audio file from a different point. This reduces phasing issues as well. So if we go now to music, if we start from the beginning, so the tempo marker has been adjusted, so the first piece is in 60 BPM, and it goes to 130 later on in the boss battle. So right now that's the exploration theme, and under these markers we have quantization interval, and the reason why we need to tell FMOD that it's in 4/4 or common time signature is because we can tell the music to change at certain bars. So I have it on every bar, it's capable of changing to the boss battle. Because if I put it to every 2 or 3, see how the lines start to get wider, so maybe we're already in a boss battle, but it's taking the time for it to reach the green line, so it's better to have it on every bar. So I'll demonstrate this. So now, for example, we're about to enter a boss battle. hit the green line, and there's a melodic transition. And this is the boss battle playing now. So that was a smooth transition because of here, this crossfade. So if we double click on the transition regions, we open up this part of the of this project, and we can set transitions in here. So I created these files on Ableton and I exported them and put them into the middleware, and I added this transition here. Because I felt like it was a nice build up to the boss battle instead of just having the exploration suddenly change the boss. It felt quite wrong. So this feels much more natural, and when we go back to exploration, see how the boss battle fades very fast and very quietly whilst the exploration music fades in louder. And this is because of their difference in dynamics. So the boss battle is seen as very loud, so we need that to quickly get quiet, and the exploration is very quiet as well, so we need that to come in. But see how the curves, they're quite contrasting, and this helps it become a more smoother transition. So yeah, that's it for the music. And if we come to the player, we have our footsteps. So in the footsteps, we have dirt, water, and wood. And these are called multi-instruments, and we have 6 variations of footsteps for each category. The way that it works with the parameter, so when we turn up the parameter, see how actually all of the audio files are actually playing, but the reason why we can only hear one is because of this here, automation. So if we go into wood, for example, and show automation in editor, we can see how the wood goes from -50 dB to -5, and this is how you can also have maybe 2. So if there was wood and grass somehow in the level, they can also be merged. And finally, health is just a heartbeat loop, which I added for contextual purposes. While your health is low in the boss battle, maybe you hear your heartbeat. The final 2 things I wanted to add as well are something, this tab here, the FMOD.io. So this is what I used to get my sound of torches. So here, basically it's kind of like the assets store, but in Unity, but it's like a store in FMOD. So if you type in torch, the one that's ticked is the one I purchased. And you can also get a preview of it here, and it tells you what kilohertz and channels, and that's quite a nice feature. And lastly, in ambiences, one thing I've done is you can set here the min and max distance in attenuation, so see how it's gone from 1 to 20. And if we come to our Unity level and we select, for example, the tavern, override attenuation is checked at the moment, but if we untick that, see how it's 1 and 20, and this is because of the default value on FMOD. But the problem I find is that if we don't override it, see how I'm clicking in this point and dragging the mouse and it's locked. Whereas if we undo that and it's checked, we can very easily click and drag and override the attenuation. And I find it's much easier to do this in Unity because it's quite visual. You can see the sphere. You could see exactly where the character's location is, whereas in FMOD it's quite difficult to understand. You see how it's changing in the 3D preview, but I think it's easier to use the function in Unity. So that's it for my FMOD project.